Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
All right, from Network Nova Live. Yes, you were on the Friday Power Lunch. It's November 1st. It's that All Souls Day, so it's very going to be out there. A lot of crazy energy. I love it. I'm Katherine White, your host, one of the hosts, bringing you the guests, the issues, the action, and we fuel the grassroots across Virginia and coast to coast. And really, building that power is nationally has been so great. And we make politics fun. So this theme today, folks, leave nothing on the table, no scraps, nothing. We're going to clear it out and we're going to make sure that we get it done because we have some grassroots leaders in here today that are going to inspire us what they've been doing to make sure that they leave nothing on the table. So I want to make sure you know who's on the guest list today. Let's give a big welcome to Senator Tim Kaine, Lynlee Thorne, political director and badass of Rural GroundGame. And we will have here also Representative Gerry Connolly and our lovely Representative Jennifer McClellan, and we have our grassroots warriors in the room, Natalia Parmly from Vienna Postcard Group, Kay Briggs, she is in CD6, and we also have Patti Richards here, another super volunteer in CD9. So welcome. And if the senator's not here, let's just get in. Luisa Boyarski to give us a report and update. Hey, Luisa.
Hey, Katherine, it is great to see you. So I wanted to start off actually by sharing a post that a friend put up last week. And she said, last weekend, I chose to forego a good friend's party and time off after a hard week. Instead, I boarded a bus from LA to Nevada to knock on strangers' doors. Heartbreak makes us do outrageous things. You see, I survived the dismantling of formerly democratic Venezuela by the autocrat I once supported, Hugo Chavez. The demise of my home country was excruciating. I still grieve. If it might help prevent another egoist from eviscerating the remaining democracy I love, I'll walk 10 miles and blister my feet. I'll tolerate the menacing snarls and creepy stares of MAGA supporters. I'll talk to anybody about how Harris and Walz are the sane and bright choice. So, my friends, this is our call to action. This is our last couple of days to really reach out to voters, get them energized, and get them to the polls. As you know, this is the last weekend of voting before November 5th, and Saturday is our last day of early voting. So I'm going to put in the chat links for multiple ways that you can help in congressional districts 2, 7, and 10, but encourage others to share links as well. There is canvassing, there is phone banking, there is ballot curing, lots and lots of options. I also want to encourage people to do some friend banking. So if you have not used the Reach app yet, I'm going to put into the chat a link where you can join to learn more about how to use it. This is a great way to contact people you know outside of the state as well. So we all have networks across the country. We've got family members. We've got other people we know. We need people to be voting blue all across the country, and the Reach app is a great way to do that. I also want to note that we still, in many areas in Virginia, are looking for volunteers for Election Day. As we were talking about prior to the show starting, there's going to be a lot of need for people who are knowledgeable about voting to be at the polls, poll greeters outside the polls, making sure people have sample ballots for those local races where the Democrats are not identified, but also people who might have been taken off the rolls or have lapsed and haven't updated their voter registration. We want to make sure that they're fully understand they have a right to vote on Election Day or on an early vote day and can register to vote that day. We just want to make sure they have all the information, though, that they need to be voting in the location that they should be voting on Election Day. So I'm going to put into the chat some information about the voter purge. There's an article that came out in the Virginia Pilot. I know a lot of people have been asking about what's happened with these purged voters. Updates that I've heard is that so the governor's executive order purged about 1,600 voters from Virginia rolls. The Democratic Party of Virginia's voter protection team has already initiated a series of FOIA requests, getting the names of canceled voters and where they live. Those requests, unfortunately, will not be honored before Election Day, but some local Democratic committees and advocacy groups already have the lists of the purged voters. And so really the best thing that we can do is explain to voters that they can still vote. So I am putting a link to that article that has details about what you should be sharing with voters. And I'm going to encourage others who are on the call, if you have any other resources that we can be sharing out with folks, please share those in the chat as well. So the important piece is in some cases, the people who've been taken off of the rolls, it's part of a normal process, and others, it's possible that it's not part of a normal process. We won't know that for sure until after those FOIA requests are reviewed. And so what we can do and what's most important is that we are supporting all voters to make sure that they can get their votes in and have them counted. Obviously, it's a tense time for everyone, and so there will be some election debriefs post-election, and I'm going to put a link to the one that Brookings is going to be hosting on November 12th in the chat if you want to join that. The Virginia Grassroots Coalition, we will have our own debrief at our Sunday, November 17th meeting. I will also put that in the chat. And then the last thing I want to note, which is not about the election, but is about our legislative session. We still are technically in session, and so our joint P&E committee of the House is planning on meeting on November 13th. There may be some calls to action around that meeting, so if you are receiving my emails or Stair's emails, just look out for those. It's quite possible that they'll be reviewing constitutional amendments at that meeting on November 13th, and we want to make sure that if that is the case, they are hearing from us about our views on those amendments. So stay tuned on that. You will be notified if we need you to contact your legislators. So that's what I've got, Katherine. I'm going to be putting a lot of links in the chat, ways people can volunteer now, ways people can volunteer on the day of the election, but please find ways that you can be talking to voters. And if it's just texting people through the Reach app, that is a great way to do it from your couch if you are not ready to be going out and knocking doors. So that's what I got for you. I think you're on mute.
How could that happen? I hear that Tim Kaine maybe has entered in the room. So if we can unmute Senator Kaine, are you with us? This is sort of a seance.
I have been with you since noon.
Well, how about that? We didn't know you were on your phone. We expected you on. Are you on the phone or on a Zoom?
I'm on the phone because I'm
That's
in the middle. I've just left early voting down in Prince William, and I've got something I'm racing off to, but we sure had a good time with you guys in the Leesburg Halloween parade last night. And I'm just finishing 4 days campaigning in Northern Virginia after 4 days campaigning with and for Missy Cotter Smosel and Hampton Roads. And I'll be in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads through Monday before settling down in Richmond for Election Day. But thank you guys so much for all the great work. We feel good in Virginia. We feel it's very close nationally, but people power is going to be the difference.
I know we did have fun. Let's tell everybody what we did. We were in the Leesburg parade, the Halloween parade, and we had at least, I don't know, there was like 40 or more of us in that parade dressed up in Barbie costumes. You had your hockey on, and did you get to watch the game at all last night, Senator, after game?
No, I wish I had, but no, I was wearing Caps gear, surrounded by folks in Barbie gear.
Yeah,
we had a wonderful Democratic turnout.
We did, and I have to say, it really felt good. We're all in pink, so colorful, and Suhas was in a Superman outfit, Suhas Superman. It was so great. So let's talk about real quick. Some of the people had questions even last night about Governor Youngkin and his little shenanigans shenanigans with the voter file. How are you feeling about that? And what are your comments about what you see the Republican Party doing to try to make some, chaos?
Yeah, look, they were trying to create chaos at the end, and they have disenfranchised, at least temporarily, a whole lot of eligible citizens. Nobody supports non-citizens voting, but if you care about that, you also have to care about not making sure that eligible voters aren't kicked off the rolls, especially at the end of a race. And that was what was so disturbing about what the state did. The good news is, because of Democrats, we do have same-day registration and casting of a provisional ballot. So anyone who was part of that group of 1,600, I know there's effort underway to reach out to them individually and remind them that they can come on election day and register and cast a provisional ballot. And in the past, more than 80% of these provisional ballots have been accepted and counted. They have to do a little verification of them. But that means if you were unfairly kicked off when you're an eligible voter, you should still go and vote on election day and insist on your right to register and cast a provisional ballot.
Yeah, I've talked to people today that know people that have already know that they've been kicked off. And like you said, the good news is, because Democrats have done this voting, we have made it easy for everybody that people can go, and we just got to make sure that we are reaching every voter. Well, I want to make sure to wish you, I know that you've been on the trail, you've been everywhere. You're like the Johnny Cash of electioneering there. And I know we have early vote today and tomorrow, and I know you're going to be all over the place. Why don't you leave us with some really great words for the Power Lunch? Some of your feelings from your heart, and just making sure everybody is listening. And what are your last words to us on this last Friday, being here with us in community?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, my feelings are, the most important thing I've ever done in my professional life was helping Barack Obama become president in 2008, not in spite of Virginia, but with Virginia, countering 44 years of being a red state. And given whose Virginia history, helping Barack Obama win, I count that as the signature professional achievement of my life. The signature professional failure of my life was having the chance to help Hillary Clinton be president in 2016 and falling short. Obviously, Virginia got it right, but we as a nation were poised to make history with her, and instead we saw 4 years of just disastrous leadership by the guy who lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton. I don't want to have that feeling again.
No.
For me, this is a race that's about the future of the country. It's about sending a message about who we are as Americans, who we are as Virginians, but also I'm viewing this as a chance to have a second chance to do what I hope to do in 2016. And for all the women who've supported me in my political career, I want to pay back. I want to support a strong woman leader, and Kamala will be that leader. So I'm even more motivated in some ways in this race than in any race I've been in, because of the painful experience of 2016. So yeah, I've done about 215 campaign events since January. That doesn't count fundraisers. It doesn't count press interviews. I'm leaving it all on the field, and I know you guys are too. And we'll send a message at 7:00 Eastern time, first in the nation, to close our polls, and we can be the start of a great night for this country.
I know. We are leaving nothing on the table. Thank you, Senator Tim Kaine, with us. And don't worry, that 2016, those Russians did a lot of interference. So don't have it all on your shoulders, because we're going to carry this one together. And thank you for being here.
There you go.
Safe travels. Get that vote out. And I want to bring up Lynlee. Lynlee.
We'll see you guys out there. Thanks.
Yeah. And if Fennell Norton, I got to say hello, a big happy hello to my friends, because you're going to have the next segment, and I'm all excited. Great to see you, Lynlee. You've been doing great work. So let's leave nothing on the table.
All right. Thank you, Katherine. Hi, Lynlee. I'm always so excited to see you. This is Lynlee Thorne. For those of you who don't know her, which I don't know how you could not know her, she's a political director of GroundGame. And she's going to start off by just talking to us a little bit about what's been happening on the ground. So, Lynlee, we have a lot to talk about. So what's on your mind? What's the biggest things happening right now?
Biggest thing for everybody to remember is that we are officially at 103 hours before polls close here in Virginia. So every single minute of all 103 hours have to count for something. And that is why we come together on calls like this to bolster each other and hold each other accountable and push each other forward to just keep taking up space. And that is what we have been doing all over rural Virginia in unprecedented ways, thanks to the support we're getting from all of you. We are running ads, full page and half page ads, all over CDs 1, 2, 5, 6, and 9, advocating for Harris, Walz, Tim Kaine, and our congressional nominees, Democratic nominees for Congress in those districts. We, in Fanal's own district in CD2, the Eastern Shore Post had to put out a special statement because we've been taking up so much space in their paper for 6 weeks now that they had to make an announcement that they had not formally endorsed because they have been running so many ads for Democrats all over the place that they had to clarify that, because it sure looks like they're endorsing it with all the space we're taking up. Thanks to so many of you who made calls with us last Monday on our dialer. With 40 some odd volunteers, we made over 14,000 phone calls to women in Leslie Mehta's district and in Gloria Witt's district. We're back at it again for a last call this coming Monday, November 4th, where we are adding District 2. So we'll be making calls for Missy Cotter-Smazel, Kaine, Harris, Walz, of course, the whole ticket. We'll be doing that Monday night, reminding folks that this is it. And we've got a great batch of signups. Please join and sign up for Monday. This is a critical. We'll be removing folks from the list who voted early, like we always do. This is folks we know we can get, but they haven't showed up yet. They must. So please sign up and do that. And fun fact that I just found out about 5 minutes ago, Rural Ground Game has made over 500,000 phone calls to voters in rural Pennsylvania through our partnership with Red to Blue. I'm going to drop our Act Blue fundraising link in the chat. And I want you to know, for transparency, I've updated that link this morning, and it very clearly states exactly where those last dollars will go. The way that we'll spend those dollars is to crank up that dialer. It does cost money because we're having real conversations with people. We're not dialing numbers and waiting around. We're actually talking to folks. We're going to put money behind our last 2 radio ads, which are now out all over rural Virginia, and we want to add to our ability to spend on that. And we'll be texting voters the same message that lines up with our phone bank, and running our video ads. All of that you can see right on our homepage, and you can see our embedded video for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz right in the Act Blue link that I'll drop into the chat as well.
So here's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to offer a couple of things about the 14,000 calls. It was amazing last Monday. It was fun. When we do phone calls with Rural Ground Game, you're right. We don't sit around waiting for calls. They just happen back to back. But also, we really make sure that we give you really good information. We give you good instructions so that you feel really confident making those phone calls. And they're really easy. So we really are encouraging everyone, if you haven't donated, donate to Rural Ground Game. The Act Blue is in, but also sign up. And if you can't sign up, find a friend to sign up. These are the last hours, and we don't want to leave a single thing on the table. You don't want to have that little achy in your belly, ajadas, what they call it up north. We want to fix that so that we can feel like we've done absolutely everything we can do. So if you haven't signed up, sign up, but also call a friend to sign up so that we can hit as many calls as we can. We just tell them, we're calling to remind you to vote. This is a really important election. And women have been so open to our messaging, and they've been so open to our phone calls. So I just can't say enough. And Lynlee, I do have to talk about billboards, which has really been critical in all of our districts, thanks to you, the signs, the newspaper ads. We are doing it all, and we're not afraid. They don't want us to talk about abortion, so guess what we're talking about? Abortion. We're talking about what Anat says. Don't talk about what's popular. Talk about what they need to hear. So that's where we are.
Yeah, thank you all so much. The billboards have been fabulous. People have loved seeing that. And again, that is our job. Take up as much space as you possibly can in every place you can think to do it, Start with your friends and family. Really don't assume that they're going to vote. Make sure that they do. I know, Fanal, when I talked to you yesterday morning, you said, oh, I got to call you back because I am taking my neighbor to vote and then I'm taking her to go see the doctor. That is what it takes. It is every single instance of that makes all the difference in the world. So if you're, whatever you are, wherever you are, please go do exactly those things. That will put us over the top.
So we're pretty excited. So I don't think we have anything else to say. We'll wait for who's coming up next. Actually, it is Gerry.
I know
Gerry's
who it
coming up
is.
next.
I know who it is. It is the best Irish fighter you want to have in this race. Our dear good friend, Representative Gerry Connolly. Hey, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Yes, I know. I mean, it feels like it's been too long since I've seen you, only maybe just a week ago. But, and I want to start off, and because I know you were in NATO and let's talk about the global look at this election. I think back on our days on January 6th when we were together and that we got to remarks. And I think about this election. And I'm interested in what people are talking about outside of the United States. You'd be the best person to give us a little bit of an idea what's at stake there.
Yeah, thank you, Katherine. And it's great to be with all of you again. This has been such a powerful and important forum for me. As you mentioned, I probably gave the most powerful statement I've given on January 6th because I kind of talked about it in real time with you. And
Yes.
I've revisited that video sometimes, and it's very emotional.
Very emotional
when I go back to it. So I commend you if you need a refresher. It's a good one. But your forum gave me that opportunity. Thank you. And of course, we've been together through so much over the years. And I before I begin, let me just say how impressed I am with all the efforts we're describing here today, and the rural one is so important. The mistake the Democratic Party makes sometimes is sort of ceding territory. Right. You can't win if you don't contest. Right. And sometimes you start out knowing you're going to lose, but you're putting in a marker. And there are always hidden Democrats in every corner, right, of the environment, and some of them are in hiding. And when we proclaim who we are, and unashamedly, and maybe you don't agree, and we respect that, but here's where we are. Here's who we are, right. And we're going to be a presence in the community. Some of those Democrats in hiding are finally willing to come out. And I think we saw that evolve here in Northern Virginia, which was Republican territory. And right. Now it's almost impossible for them. We've built a bulwark of Democratic voters and support that yes. Now we can export to other parts of the state and other parts of the region and all over the country for that matter. So really important. Internationally, I just got back. I am the president again right. of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, which is the legislative arm of NATO, as you know. And so wearing that hat, I went to 3 countries last week, the Czech Republic, Estonia, and Latvia. And in Latvia, we have what's called the Crimea Summit, the 3rd Crimea Summit, where we talk about Ukraine and we talk about Crimea specifically, where this all really began in 2014, not just 2.5 years ago. Right. And I can tell you, talking to foreign ministers, presidents, prime ministers, members of parliament, key members of the government and cabinets, there is universal anxiety about our election. So much hinges on it. It's a clear choice about Ukraine for them, for example. They are all absolutely all in, as am I, to defend Ukraine and see it through to victory. They know that in this election, that is in sharp contrast, right? One of the 2 candidates is not all in, praises Putin and says he can cut a deal with him. Well, that sent shudders in Europe because what that would mean is territorial concessions, and the Russians would essentially be rewarded for what
Right.
they've done. And they're worried about what it means for the NATO alliance, which is stronger than ever right now. We have
Right.
solidarity, we have unanimity. We're pumping a lot of aid into Ukraine. We're building up our own defense structures. We're countering Russian cyber attacks and hybrid activity. We're trying to tighten sanctions. Those are all really good things, and we're doing it in a very coordinated fashion. I was so impressed with the clarity our counterparts have in these three countries and elsewhere in Europe. So for us to walk all that back and change all of that would be catastrophic.
Not one step back. Let me just ask you a question. With that said, I'm wondering too, with Elon Musk and the Russian and the satellites and all that crazy stuff. I mean, we already see this. I always tell people pulling back from just from our nation and looking globally that this is the fight for our government, for the Western Alliance, for since World War II, right? And when you just really step back from what's going on a larger level, it is really fighting for what has been with us for a long time, right? Over 50 years or more, that how we've been working together about democracies. And Putin is trying to say democracy doesn't work, right? And, on that scale, I really try to remind people when they get caught up with the minutia, I'm like, this is what's happening globally. And we need to win for this spirit of how we operate, right? What's your perspective on that? I mean,
I think that's exactly right. This is a bigger than Ukrainian territory.
Right.
This is a struggle between two philosophies and systems of governance.
Right.
One liberates the human spirit and expands opportunity and freedom, and enshrines freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom to dissent, freedom to congregate and protest, freedom to express yourself without worrying about the knock on the door in the middle of the night.
Right.
The other says, no, that doesn't work. It's messy and inefficient, and our system delivers. And the trade-off, the quid pro quo, is your freedoms, your expression, including artistic and cultural expression, will be suppressed. We will decide what's best for you. And we certainly hear strains of that in our own politics right now, don't we? So that is a battle that must be won.
Freedom. Freedom. I mean, it's what's behind Kamala. Did you go to the rally on the mall?
I wasn't able to.
You were back yet.
Other things, but I had a lot of friends that went down, and they said it was just a joyous, enormous, wonderful event.
So let's turn to that joy, and so we close out with you. I know we have Senator Jennifer McClellan coming up next. What are some of those things right now? And now this weekend, then bringing home the early vote. We have today and tomorrow, but just in the sense of your takeaways, you want everybody in this room to hear from you, from your heart, from that Irish heart of yours. I'd like to just dig in there and really inspire the people in this room.
So I think we need to step back a little bit from our anxiety, which is understandable, and say to ourselves, look how far we've come. In July, all looked lost. We were fallen. States like our own were suddenly in contention. President Biden, a wonderful man, great record, but collapsed in that debate. And he was not going to win this election. We quickly coalesced around a new candidate, an exciting new force in politics, and we're now on the brink of winning this election. That's how far we've come. We've raised more money than any candidate in history, and it's grassroots money. It's not oligarch money.
Right.
She has now moved beyond the margin of error in at least two of the three key battleground states.
Right.
And if we win those three states and assume we can win Nevada, we win the election. we may have a surprise that's favorable, like North Carolina. So we'll see. And we've fought back, and we have made this race not only competitive, but put the other side on the defensive. And I'm going to predict, I think we're going to win. I think, it may be, a nail biter. I don't know. But we're going to win. There are lots of people who are going to contribute to this, young people, people of color, but women, once again, are going to determine the outcome of this election. And I think they're an underestimated force. The Roe v. Wade decision, overturning Roe v. Wade, is with us.
Yes.
Impassioned. And I think a lot of pollsters don't pick that up. I think a lot of pundits underestimate that. Well, that's faded. No,
even on the front page of the paper today, they said the election's all about the economy. And I'm like, well, I have to say, yeah. And you saw Trump say he's the protector of women. I think all women ran to the voting booth that day once they saw him come out and said, well, even if they don't like it, I'm going to do what I want. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, yeah. So I want to thank you for being here. It's great to see you. I'm sure I'll see you at the polls.
Keep the faith, see you at the polls, and see you election night.
Thank you, Congressman Gerry Connolly, one of just favorite fighters for democracy. I tell you what, I love that he's my representative here in Fairfax, Carrie. He just kicks butt and takes names. He's
fantastic. Sure. And he's such an advocate, and he is such an advocate, and he's an OG for the Friday Power Lunch.
He's an OG. And let me tell you what I've learned too, when I'm Italian Irish, so I align with that. And so I like to have a lot of fun with him. And Gerry, if you want, if you want to add to our kitty for Rural Ground Game, you feel free to support our initiative to call More Women Monday. So Carrie, take it away.
Yes, thank you. We got another OG in the house. So excited today. That, Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan from Virginia's 4th Congressional District. She is one of our faves here at the Friday Power Lunch. She is getting stuff done. If you follow her on the socials, that's no surprise. She is leaving nothing on the table. And she has been traveling as a surrogate for Vice President Kamala Harris, her good friend, Kamala Harris. It's been so exciting to watch you in action. Welcome, Congresswoman McClellan.
Thank you. Always great to be back on the Power Lunch.
You're the best. Thank you. I'm going to get right into it. So we're at the end, and campaigns are kind of beginning to simplify their message out there. And no wonder we're starting to see gender-based attacks from the Trump campaign. And just wanted to talk with you a little bit. Kamala has not been leaning in to her role as the first female in the way that Hillary did, right? Yet a lot of our grassroots activists are really excited about the potential of her being our first female president. Oh, should we talk about it? Should we not? What's that strategy in there as the gender attacks are ramping up?
I think, there are many different messages.
Do you have anything to drop it?
What the vice president is doing is focusing on why she is the best candidate, why she and Tim Walz will carry America on a new way forward. You can look at her and see she's a woman. You can look at her and see that she's Black, even though Donald Trump wants to try to claim she's not. Shut up, Donald Trump.
Right. What does he do?
And so I think remember, as Gerry said, she came in with a much shorter window.
I don't know what
needed to spend her time introducing a lot of people, introducing herself to a lot of people who didn't know a lot about her. So she had to truncate her campaign and really focus on her bio and her message, and picking a vice president and getting ready for a convention. But there are multiple different messengers. And so I think what the beauty of this campaign is we are meeting voters where they are, talking to them about the issues that matter to them. And to those voters who want to talk about the fact that she will be the first woman, we're talking to them about that. But I think we need to make sure we're not getting hung up on what, talking about what's obvious. And the fact that she is a woman is pretty obvious. So let's talk about the things that we need to make sure weren't so obvious when she first got into this race.
Right. Like, look, she's a strong leader. She's not, she's not a strong woman leader. She's a strong leader, right? She's going to be, she's going to be in charge of the military. She's a strong leader. It's important. So I totally get that. So just changing gears here. I saw your post from the rally on Tuesday night. Your seats were a little better than mine. I gotta say, she was like a speck. I could barely see her, but I was just happy to be there. Pretty exciting. But I also saw that a picture of you and Barbara Comstock, and you all were together, and she posted that. So we're all seeing a lot of Republicans coming over to not only say they're going to vote for Kamala Harris, but also to get out there and stump for her a little. And you received an endorsement from Barbara Comstock. She's with you. And so we're starting to see it with congressional candidates as well. Can we count on any lasting impact of this bipartisan support, or do you think they're just trying to get rid of Trump?
A bit of both. I think this is, there's certain points in history where everybody is called to put their country first. Country over party, country over self-interest. And this is definitely that moment. One of the things I like to remind people, whether it's in Congress or the General Assembly, there actually is more room for common ground than the media likes to make us think. And where we find that common ground, we'll work together and get things across work across the aisle. There's some issues we won't agree on, and we'll just work to, see who wins. But this is a moment where everybody understands it is country over party. This is going to determine not only do we have a new path forward, or are we going back, going back even to the 1800s where Donald Trump wants to go, but is our democracy going to actually survive? And she gets that. And a lot of Republicans get that.
I'm really, optimistic about, I'm so optimistic, especially after the rally, right? But I'm really hoping that something more comes of this, that permission structure has been set up, right, by someone like Liz Cheney. And I'm really hoping that compromise will no longer be a bad word, in Washington.
Well, again, I have to remind folks, there is room for common ground. There are a lot of Republicans that are there for the right reason. The problem is usually the leadership, frankly. And when I missed the first 15 votes for speaker, but Kevin McCarthy made a deal with about 8 to 10 far right MAGA extremists in his party for power. And in doing that has basically brought Congress to a screeching halt. And there are Republicans who are frustrated by that, but there are also a lot of Republicans who have been afraid to speak out because they were afraid, would that mean a primary? Would that mean I'd have Donald Trump coming after me? I mean, remember, Donald Trump is telling people that Liz Cheney should be in front of a firing squad. But This is a moment, just like we saw in the civil rights movement, both civil rights movements, and right after Reconstruction and in the 1960s, that sometimes you have to put your country and what is right above everything. And we are seeing that now. And again, I think there will be places for finding common ground, both in the General Assembly and in Congress, but we got to make sure we have the right leadership in place who will foster that. We have got to make sure we have Hakeem Jeffries as the next speaker and not Mike Johnson.
That would be fantastic. It's something that's keeping me motivated. Well, just to let everybody know, we were talking with Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan. I have one more question for you, and
Can I interrupt?
You've been out. Oh, yes, of course.
I completely agree with Jennifer, and what a wonderful member she is in Congress. Jennifer, great to see you. I just wanted to observe, we get excited about these Republicans who are endorsing Kamala and showing courage, and we should. They have one thing in common, Fred Upton, Charlie Dent, Barbara Comstock, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. They're all former members of Congress. They're out of office. The colleagues Jennifer and I work with live with palpable fear because the Trump MAGA movement enforces conformity with fear. These people are afraid for their families. They're afraid for their personal safety. And so the permission structure does not exist with the rank and file Republican voter back home. And so your question is a really good one, Carrie. Is this something maybe that will spark, a conscience and people willing to speak out? And I guess, sadly, I would say probably not.
Right.
Until they leave office,
because they don't, you're absolutely right, because they don't have the platform that a sitting congressperson does.
Forgive me for interrupting.
Absolutely. It's fine. But I do want to end on a hopeful note. So Congresswoman McClellan, what are you seeing out there that gives you hope when you're out there on your own campaign for Kamala?
I am seeing an enthusiasm that is off the charts, that is bigger than 2008 in a couple of reasons. 2008 was hope in history versus more of the same. This is hope in history versus catastrophe. And so whether I'm in Michigan or Wisconsin or North Carolina or Atlanta, and I've been all those places, whether I'm in Brunswick or in Richmond, I see people of all walks of life coming out. Let me throw a couple of statistics at you. Last weekend, excuse me, the Harris campaign knocked 1.5 million doors in 1 week and made 15 million calls across the country. Women are early voting, outvoting men by double digits. In the battleground states, we are seeing young voters surge in Georgia, Nevada, and Michigan. We are seeing record-breaking in-person early voting in Georgia, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Michigan. Excuse me, swallowed too fast. And so we also see undecideds, and it's a very small number of undecideds, but we see them breaking towards Harris walls. And so, listen, I know every single year in the last 4 days of the campaign, no matter where we are in the polls, I freak out. Right. But so the last thing I want to say is don't freak out. We know Republicans can't win on the merits of their message. And so they're trying everything by hook or by crook to win this election. We need to stay focused on our mission, stay focused on our message. When you get ready to freak out, volunteer to get a call packet, chase down absentee ballots, go knock on doors, go send out text messages, donate a little more money. We are going to win if we stay focused and don't get distracted by the crazy. We're going to win the presidency and we are going to win the House. And again, we need you all over the state. I made the mistake last week in a call saying I'm fine here. And then we found out, hey, our absentee ballots dipped. We got 10,000 absentee ballots in CD4 that haven't been turned in. So don't take anything for granted. Don't take your foot off the gas anywhere, because if we don't have high turnout in CD4, Tim Kaine and Kamala Harris won't do as well. Make sure you are spending every minute between now and 7 p.m. on election day, especially if you start to get nervous, volunteering to get things over the finish line. Don't doom scroll Twitter or X or whatever. Get up and do something. And if you do your part, then we will win.
Thank you so much. And because we know when we vote, we win. And we are getting out the vote like you would not believe. And we thank you for all of that. We do.
Yes. Hey, Carrie, that was great. And I have to say, it is true where I think Andrea Miller has said that there's in CD4, it is down, the voting in some areas, in the blue areas, we don't see sometimes this vigorous voting. My hope is that we'll see it on Tuesday and see it this weekend. And we also know, remember back in the last election, a lot of ballots didn't get turned in. So again, people are going to be doing that ballot chasing. But let's leave nothing on the table and get inspired by our three guests today. Natalia Parmly, and you are from the Vienna Postcard group. How awesome to have you here. Kay Briggs, CD6. You're on the Democratic Party. You do everything. You're a super volunteer with Ken Mitchell, who's running for Congress. Awesome there. And also Patti Richards, a great person I just got the pleasure to talk to yesterday. I'm so excited to hear from Patti. She has been knocking doors and kicking butt and writing postcards in CD9. And who is that? That's Karen Baker's district. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Yay, good to see y'all here. I hope you're feeling inspired. We're inspired by you. I want to start with Vienna Postcard Group. And Natalia, tell us about what is going on with your group and how you're kicking butt and leaving nothing on the table.
Well, we had a very exciting year this year. We QC'd, stamped, and mailed out 30,000 postcards, with 33,000 going to specifically to the general election. We spent most of our efforts writing for the congressional districts here in the state. We wrote for CD2, CD5, CD7, and CD10. And we also did a local election, which I'm very fond of, for Katherine Reed, the mayor of the city of Fairfax. We have worked hard with other aspects too. Many of our members volunteer for different, in fact, we have one of our members is the head of all of Fairfax County's voting. That's Julie Stern.
Oh, yes.
And we've been around for forever. I mean, we started early on. We started in 2018, and we write currently at the Vienna Whole Foods, which is just a wonderful place to write. But we have stopped now. On the 23rd, our last in-house meeting. And on the 24th, we sent out 18,000 of the postcards, the final group of postcards that we had. And so now we're going to have a little bit of a respite. Come January, we'll be at it again, because we're going to ensure that Abigail Spanberger is our governor.
Ooh, I love it. So I love that you've been around since 2018 and the leadership, right? 2000, what did I say, 13? It's an 8, a half of an 8.
Yeah. Well, and we were very fortunate. I mean, we continued all the way through the pandemic. We met on Zoom. When things became a little less restricted, we did have meetings in people's homes. And then when the cafe opened back up at Whole Foods, we were back, and they are so nice to us.
Awesome. Kay Briggs. Now, Kay, I'm surprised there's not a police car outside there going to find a sign someone stole. If you haven't met Kay Briggs and CD6, she's supporting and helping the candidate, and we've had him on, Ken Mitchell. How much fun. And you've been doing some great work there. Why don't you talk about what you're doing, leaving nothing on the table over in your district?
Okay, so I saw activists and I thought, well, I'm kind of an accidental activist. And what happened is I'm with the 6th CD and we're pretty red, and we're really red. This candidate comes out of nowhere. He can talk on any topic. He's got all kinds of experience. He knows he's been able to reach across the middle. The guy's amazing. And so it was like, man, we're getting on this campaign. And a lot of the other folks in the committees also felt the same way. I have to laugh, though, because initially, when we first started this, I started getting emails from people who I didn't know, all wanting two things. They wanted a title and they wanted money. We don't have any money. So anyway, so we kind of got rid of them, and that was fine. And so then again, we've got a winnable candidate. And so what happened is that very quickly, all of the committees, and we've got about 19 committees throughout the 6th CD, they all jumped on board. They developed their own postcards. They used some of our postcards. They provided the stamps. We didn't have any money. And all of the committees, many of the Dems in those committees, as well as Dems that were not on committees, all started doing fundraisers for us. And that kept us going. We were never broke. We didn't have a lot of extra money, but we were never broke. And that really kept us going. Again, the folks in the different committees, they all knocked doors. They did phone banking and text messaging. We had a text messaging program, but we had other committees doing it too. So it's like win-win. What really helped, another thing that really helped us is the unions. The unions knocked doors. They came out for us. They knocked doors. They provided endorsements, and they gave us enough money to help us put up 11 billboards throughout the 6. And these billboards are good. Granted, there were a couple that they kind of told us we couldn't use, but anyway.
Hey,
but we had some
Kay,
good ones.
can you turn your audio up? Some of the people in the audience are having a little hard time hearing you.
All righty.
I can hear her pretty good, but it could be her, on her computer. But go ahead, try to. And I just love everything you said. And these billboards, how amazing is that? Because isn't that the Ben Klein is the Republican, Kay?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, just talk a little louder. It's okay. We got.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm a little
You're
slow.
good.
Remember, I'm older. So anyway, and then we also had some support. We got a shout out from DPVA the other day. Our 6 CD chair, got involved. Rural Ground Game. We've worked with them quite a bit. And then we ended up with some really highly skilled volunteers. It's great because I look good and they did everything. So, for instance, we had a person, Monica, who ended up running all of our turfs for Ken Mitchell turfs and also providing labels for everybody. And she was constant. Everybody from one end of the 6 CD to the other knows her now, and they know that she'll reproduce immediately. And then, okay, I saw Brad's on. Yes, Brad, you told me I needed to get social media. I mean, I'm 71. What kind of social media do I know about? But anyway, so he said I had to call Gene. Let me tell you, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got it all now. And we have people all over the country on it. And there's the guy that went on Oprah that's really famous. He's forwarding our stuff. People are sending money from Kansas. And it's really cool. So anyway, and then we ended up with we wanted to do TV ads and video ads, but again, we don't have that kind of money. But we had a videographer that volunteered his time, and he put together some amazing videos and TV ads. So then we were able to get our TV ads for like $5,000. Otherwise, it would have been 25. So that was really cool. And then we had another person that helped research topics and complete surveys. If you haven't done this directly with a candidate, there are so many surveys. I thought I was going to die. And every night it was, hey, Elena, can you do another survey? And that was great because we managed to get it all done. And then the one last thing that was really cool that I've heard y'all talk about, we had folks in Harrisonburg and Rockingham put together a group, and they went targeting Republicans that were disgruntled. And we have three former chairs now, 2 of which they're still kind of staying quiet, but one of them did a video for us, and it's phenomenal. I mean, they're all saying, we're Republicans, not anymore. And so, so when I say that I'm the accidental activist, again, I'm getting all the credit, but we had people throughout the 6 CD just hustling, and they still are. So if you want to come out, it's really cool. You should.
Yeah, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the grassroots, where you just flatten those little hierarchies. And, we have our own permission structure. Nothing has to get approved. Get the money, do it.
Do it, right? I love it. And I love the story of your signs that you put those air tags on them, because we've had people stealing signs. And I'm like, well, okay, Briggs she put air tags on them. And, that was just the coolest thing. And I love it. I love it. So that was just really great. And I'm really excited that we have Patti here, because Patti was so much fun. Once Patti and I talked yesterday, right, we realized that we had a lot in common, fighting for equal rights all these years. And then she moved from Richmond area out to where the you're part of the Smith Dems now. Out to Smith Mountain. So talk about you. Patti, we had a great talk yesterday, but tell everybody what you're doing to leave nothing on the table.
Okay, well, there's a lot of people working in CD9 right now, and I'm actually new to CD9. I was Henrico. I was like the super canvasser for Abigail Spanberger.
How many doors did you do for Abigail?
Well, the one time 3,443 to get her.
Who's counting?
So I'm kind of slacking this year. I've only gotten up to a little under 1,000, but I'm working on it. And but anyway, I'm new to CD9. I actually moved to Virginia when I was like 28. And I actually moved to Cave Spring, Virginia, which is Roanoke area, lived there for a year. And then I ended up moving to Henrico and having kids, and you kind of stayed there for 30 years. And then I retired, and we built a house here at Smith Mountain Lake. So I'm like, okay, I've got to, get connected into a whole new district. It's rural, totally different issues, like trying to get internet for 2 months, going 6 miles to a grocery store where I used to walk to one, or 10. And it's just a totally different thing. But the people are great. And I got to, once I found out we were going to have a candidate, I jumped on Karen Baker's bandwagon. I went out there in February and March and knocked on doors to get signatures because it's really hard to get them. And especially in CD9 is like the size of New Jersey. Most of the people that live there, they're closer to capitals in other states than here. So I did some signature canvassing for Kaine as well. And then it kind of went quiet. I did postcards. I love postcards too. And I did those swing state postcards for a couple months. And then canvassing started, ramping back up again. And then by then I had met Karen through some meet and greets and fundraisers. And I really just got to love her because she's very genuine. She's just totally devoted to service. And I just really liked her. And that's what's good for canvassing because I can tell stories to the people I knock the doors on. And that I actually had one, that's my proudest moment. I was able to flip a Republican woman that was going to vote straight Republican. And it was just by chance. I was going to a door and the contact wasn't there, her son. And so there were two women, in a carport, and I just started chatting with them. And then I talked about where they're going to vote. And I said, well, I'm really here for Karen Baker. I really, really like her. I've met her. I've seen what she did for hurricane victims. I've just really, and I started talking about her. And then after talking to her for like 15 minutes, she goes, she sounds really good. And I compared her with Morgan Griffith, who's voted against veterans, who's really not done anything. As she said, when he got elected, we got neglected. And so it's like after 15 minutes, she goes, give me the lip. I'm going to vote for her. Can I vote for Democrat? I'm like, yeah, you can. You can split the ballot. And so I actually flipped her and she was going to go vote. And I told her where to vote. so that was
amazing.
And the thing that actually sealed the deal is I was talking to her about her hurricane victim advocacy. And I said, I got some pictures on my phone, and I flipped up with my phone and said, okay, what candidate runs around with a truck with a chainsaw and fuel in it so she can cut trees down so she can get to people? Like, what candidate does that? And she's like, all right, I like her. And it was kind of like her commercial where somebody says, like, I think I'm going to try something different. It was kind of like that moment. I
love that. And I love that you wrote about 3,000 postcards a day. And you're funny when you said that you had to go into your retirement to pay for those postcards.
Well, actually, yeah, because my husband's always complaining, he sees all these charges on the MasterCard. And I'm like, okay, I just went into a little bit of my inheritance. And
your inheritance money.
Like $1,000 worth of postage or whatever. I just did it because I was really worried about swing states. And so I wrote a lot to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But every way you volunteer is important, and they all connect in different ways. And just like in CD9, like it's so huge and so rural. And I complain about going to Blacksburg. Before Karen's gone through a set of tires, she drives 1,000 miles a week. She changes the oil. Her cars are constantly in the shop, getting maintained. And I tell these stories to people, and they just are really, I also talk up Kaine too, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no. And I want to say that you said to me, you knew you had to make change, and this is how you can do it. I want to tell people before we wrap up here to follow on TikTok what was really inspirational, how I found even Ken Mitchell on his TikTok and on Twitter, but you on Twitter, Patti's where I saw you, and you have a lot of followers. You're exciting. You tell your stories on on Twitter, sorry. So talk about that real quick, about how you really got active on Twitter and people see you canvassing and they love it.
And then, it actually started back when I was in the Henrico. I just started posting photos on Twitter for Bob Shippey's campaign that was in
Bob,
back there. And we had fun with it. Like, we'd be out in the rain and we'd post a picture in the rain. And so I carried that here. Like, I used my Twitter for elections because candidates still have Twitter accounts. So I'm going to be on here. I'm not going to cede the space. And so anyway, this year I got inspired by a man who's anesthesiologist, has canvassed over 2,000 doors in Pennsylvania. Wow. And he does TikTok videos, but he posts them on Twitter. So that's how I saw it. And I thought, gosh, maybe, people would be more engaged if I did a video, but I'm not a professional. I'm not a movie star, But I just did it one day after knocking a bunch of doors. I flipped open my phone, took a video, and talked about some of the important things that I found. And then I posted them, and I actually got a lot of feedback and views. And one went up to 107,000, which was crazy. And most of my other, and I'm just this ordinary person, regular lady on the, and people are inspired by that. And that's why I want to spread positivity. And hopefully people will try it. It's not as bad as you think it is. It's not. I've only had somebody slam a door in my face once, like these past years. So it hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, the people are asking you if you put your Twitter handles in there and if you could put them in the chat. I want to thank you all for being here. And everybody in the audience, stay with us because we will, and stay with us because we're going to go to after chat in a couple minutes. And I hope you ladies will join us on the other side. We have with us Kay Briggs, Patti Richards, and Natalia Parmly. We'll be on the other side in a little bit. But thank you for being here. And let's wrap up with the team and talk about what we learned today. Bye, Patti.
Bye.
Well, I think if those three grassroots leaders ever have a bad day, all they need to do is look at that chat because everybody was praising them and just admiring all their hard work. So now I'm going to leave it with that because we're really over.
We are. I love it. Hey, it's 1:05. That's not bad for the Friday before election. I wanted to show everybody in the seeing audience, as we say, that the picture of the parade is behind me. Look at that. That's Tim Kaine in the middle and all of us in pink and dressed as Barbie. And that's very inspirational. I'll put that in the chat as well. How much fun we had. Let's keep us joyful. And Fennell, I want to see what your last thoughts are, my friend.
So my last thoughts are simply Linda Hersham. And I think they're perfect for this, which is talk and knock far and wide these last few days. So if you guys will join us on Monday for our call to women across Virginia, that will be excellent. And then finally, she also says, don't be intimidated and not to ever give up. So those are my thoughts.
Well, those are good thoughts. So everybody, I want to thank you, all the patrons in the room today, for supporting our work. It means so much to us. And thank you to our guests. We had the political director from rural GroundGame here, Lynlee Thorne, wonderful Senator Tim Kaine. We had the Congressperson, Gerry Connolly and Jennifer McClellan. And we also had three great grassroots women here with us, Natalia Parmly from Vienna Postcard Group, Kay Briggs, CD6, and Patti Richards from CD9. So get ready. We're going to jump into the after chat. Thank you for being here. And remember, next week, we're going to have a show. You want to be in community with us after this election. And I also hopefully see you Monday night on the phones. Call.